Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar hosted by Shopcare yet again. I am your facilitator, Wes van Deventer, and our speaker is from Vibration Action. He's the CEO, and his name is Jason Johnstone. Oh, I almost called you James. I do apologize for that. So, guys, for those who haven't know yet or are just joining, please note that this webinar will be recorded. We will also share this with our YouTube channel. I don't go looking for it tomorrow, but definitely, I would say halfway through next week, it will definitely be uploaded to our YouTube channel for you to view and share and learn. We also record it for our purposes in order to learn more and see what we can improve on. Okay, so if you just go on to the next slide for me, please, Jason. Everybody's microphones have been muted. If for some odd reasons, we do understand there's glitches. If you're not muted, please mute your microphone. If you've got any questions for myself or for Jason, please make use of the questions and answer function. And then if you've got any other comments, please use the chat function. I'll monitor both of them throughout this webinar series. Then I would just quickly want to give you a quick overview of Shopcare. For those who don't know who we are, it's going to take about 1.5 minutes. And so Jason, if you can just click onto the next one or press enter. Thank you very much. So guys, Shopcare is an association and we look after retail, manufacturing, supply chain, road transport sectors from a health and safety perspective. We've got a couple of work streams going on. One is the critical risk management work stream. And within that, we've just finished our critical risk exposure report for our industry. That's just being shared through some of our close contacts now, but we will make it public in the next couple of days. So please watch out for that or visit our website to learn more. Also, part of our critical risk work stream is we've got a couple of resources on our website, hierarchies of controls for certain critical risks and threats. We also try to share as much as possible from other sharing material like these webinars from critical risk point of view as well. We also will be doing a couple of bow ties, industry collaborated bow ties, and we've also got driver safety guide, which is part of a massive critical risk drive within our industry. We have collaborated with the AA Motoring Company to develop that guide. We've also got other guides on there and other resources, so please feel free to pop over there. Then we've also got a violent and aggressive and behavior, VAB, work stream. This is mainly for customer facing workers that it's not just an ongoing quite a while issue, but it's also a growing issue where these workers face extreme, how would I say, vulgar and aggressive behavior from the public. So not so much from internally, from a worker to worker, but mainly from public to worker. We are collaborating with Skills VR and doing a couple of bits and pieces around that. We've been also collaborating with other massive retailers and now the police as well. So please watch out what we'll be doing in that space. And if you really want to and see how we can keep our workers safe. Then we've got a project with WorkSafe going on around site markings. So if you want to know more about site markings, please connect with us. My colleagues is pretty heavily involved with that project. And then one of the last things is the participative ergonomics work piece that we've got going on. So this is anything from manual handling training that we offer on our website yet again, as well as injury management and early notification of discomfort and intervention programs. So this is quite a lot of work going into these areas, and we will be making it public as soon as possible. Yet again, if you want to know more, please reach out and connect with us. Then these a couple of faces that you see in front of us, these are some of the webinar sharing sessions that will happen in the next month or two. Next up, we've got John Peachy. He's from a company called The Think Farm, and he calls himself the Chief People Mechanic, and he'll be doing a big webinar around health and safety, well-being, leadership. So please watch out for that. Then we've got the lovely Sarah McGuinness, from ROW. She'll be focusing just on burnout with a COVID aspect to it. And there's quite a lot of talk about burnouts. I don't know if some of those who attended last week's webinar with Dr. Hilary Bennett regarding mental well-being by design. And even in that website, in that webinar, we talked about burnout, and a lot of people have been asking questions about burnout. So please watch out for that one. That one's coming in early May. And then we've got 2 webinars, mainly focused on personal safety and security, as well as crowded places. And I've got Paul Walsh and Craig doing that one. These guys have come from special forces, police backgrounds, etc. And then we've got Jemima as well, also be doing it on that topic. And she is the GM for First Security and Guarding. So please watch out for those guys. And make sure to join when you do see those links. We try to market them as best as we can, but please make sure that you reserve your space. Then that's about it from my end, guys. So I just want to hand over to and give you a bit of an intro to Jason. So I just want to welcome you, Jason from Vibration Action. He's also, like I mentioned before, he's the CEO. So Jason used to be exposed to vibration for years until, he was made aware that this is an actual issue. And this issue is called, hand-arm vibration syndrome. Now, since then, Jason has become, I would say, most probably the leading expert, as well as driving awareness on this topic. So thank you, Jason, for taking the time. We really appreciate it that you're coming on board and sharing your message and your experience, and just driving this message home. So, guys, I'll still be in the background. The floor is yours, Jason.
Thank you, Wes. Good evening, folks. Well, actually, good afternoon. This is my first webinar, so don't be too cruel on me. So this is my story. That picture actually indicates what I'm here for. That's actually one of my hands. I have 2 of them. So this is what hand-arm vibration is to me. There's no reason why the finger in the middle is not affected by hand-arm vibration. Some days or some weeks it goes white as well. To go back to where I started working, I guess I was just an average kid at school. I wanted to be a soldier, so I joined the army straight out of school. I wasn't really involved in any of the maintenance side of vehicles or machinery or whatever in the army. I was just there to be a soldier, walk around the bush and look for some guy who wasn't there, to be honest. So I did the army for about 5 years, got bored. Then I was approached by a friend of mine who had a position going at his paint and panel shop. He was after an apprentice. So I jumped on board there. I quite enjoyed the role. Looking back at that role, I was exposed to a lot of vibration through the likes of polishers, the buff machines, we call them, the orbital sanders, the grinders, the rattle guns, a whole range of tools, to be honest. So that was a good job. Also exposed to other elements apart from vibration. I don't think they actually had a bearing on hand-arm vibration, but the long-term consequences probably, not too flash. After the panel beating, I actually went next door to a engineering workshop, and I asked the guy there who actually owned the business, said, "What does it take to get a job in here?" He said to me to go away and get a welding ticket. So I did that. So I started working for those guys. I was there pretty much roughly 5-6 years, can't remember. Exposed to a lot of power tools, grinders, different size grinders, 7-inch. I think there are 9-inch ones there as well. Cut-off saws. The band saws weren't too bad, hardly any vibration from them. Small grinders, exposed to them. Impact drivers, the whole deal. Little die grinders, those kind of things that are a bit bigger than what a dentist would use, but they emit a lot of vibration. It was a cool place. Again, got bored, same as the panel shop. I was at the panel shop for about 7 years, and engineering between 5 and 6, I can't quite remember. So then I was actually looking to do something else. It's not as if I get bored quickly. It's just that I wanted to better myself. So I started looking for a long-term career, and I actually got a role at the smelter as a contractor, which is cool. I was happy to get just any kind of job down there, because it was pretty much guaranteed career for people in Invercargill. So we did, I did 2 years as a contractor, mainly exposed to small jackhammers, grinders, drills, chipping bars, all sorts of stuff, big rattle guns as well. And after my 2-year period, they call it a probation period down there. They take you aside and offer you a full-time role. And yeah, I was offered a full-time role. The amount of vibration tools I was exposed to reduced somewhat. And I was actually a bit more involved with the machinery actually we drove inside of. So I was exposed to whole body vibration as well. So that was cool. I took a gap of 2 years in my 15-year stint at the smelter. That was I did 2 years in Japan. I did, sorry, a year in Japan and a year in Thailand. No power tools at all. I was actually just teaching English and having a good time. And after that 2 years, I come back. The smelter found out I was back in Invercargill and approached me and said, "Look, we want you to come back. We've invested this money into you. We want some return from that." So yeah, back to the smelter again. So again, same role, same power tools, same machinery, different shift pattern, but still 12 hours of exposure to lots of different power tools and machinery. If I go to the next slide. So when did I get the vibration white finger? No one knows. Even the likes of Professor David McBride, who's one of New Zealand's experts in vibration exposure, he couldn't even tell me when I was actually, or when the damage occurred. There was, for me, it actually seemed to be a lot of guesswork from not just one person, but a lot of people. There was actually, I remember the day I was sitting at McBride's office, and he did a lot of tests where he put needles into my finger, well, not into my finger, on the surface of my finger, and told me to close my eyes. Can you feel this? Can you feel that? And it was all pretty surreal. If you can imagine a person who's been working with their hands pretty much all their life, to now be staring at a future where you can't work with your hands. So anyway, McBride did all his tests. I went for about 2 hours, ran my hands through hot and cold water to see the vascular spasm change and that kind of stuff. Sure, the fingers went white. You know, the loss of touch, you know, the ability to pick up a coin from the floor, doing up your buttons in your shirt, all those kind of things, they have become a problem as of lately, and the chances of actually getting worse are pretty high. So I was sitting in McBride's office, and he went away, and so he said he'd be about 5 minutes. So I sat there by myself thinking, how did I get into the situation? You know, I was working for a company owned by Rio Tinto, who has a health and safety budget that is probably the envious of most countries. And it's like, they've got a dedicated team. Why didn't they see this occurring? So after McBride said, look, that's it, you finish with power tools, you can no longer go back to them. If you do, your injury is going to get worse. And to be honest, there's no cure for hand-arm vibration. There's no surgical procedure, although some doctors in America think there is. There's not. So after McBride sent his report back to the smelter, I went back down there, and I was called into the doctor's office, which is based down at the smelter. And he said, look, we're going to put you on night duties. That involves no power tools, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, cool. So I said to him, I said, how did this happen? And he goes, we don't know. We just have no idea. And the funny thing about the smelter is that they actually knew that vibration was a hazard. They had a system in place when you use an air-operated jackhammer or rattle gun. So the department I work in had this thing called trigger time system. So it runs from the PLC. So whenever you went to a station, you punch in your employee ID. And so what actually happens is that it would only release the air under your employee ID for, I think it was like 2 hours 15 or 2 hours 30 to that particular tool. The reason why they did that is they actually, the smelter had a company called Viberpack from Australia come over and actually do a lot of testing on all the gear they used. And the Viberpack recommended this is the exposure rate for this bit of kit. So that's what the smelter did. They put these trigger timers in. They were in place for probably 10 years before I left. And that was cool. We all knew it was there for a reason, to protect us. But still, I'm here talking to you guys because it didn't actually stop my injury from getting any worse. And to be honest, looking back at the people I worked with, I wasn't the only one. There are a lot of guys there that I worked with who are just too scared to speak up because they didn't want to lose their jobs. The smelter paid good money. So yeah, they really couldn't afford socially to actually lose their job because their family relied on their support. So when I went back to the smelter after they actually not physically retired me, medically retired me, I actually asked, why did this happen? And they said, look, there's a major lack of industry fit for purpose tools for actually monitoring vibration. And they said, oh, how's that? And they said, look, they said, there's kit out there, but it's just too expensive. The cost versus the harm factor, they just accepted that that's rather pay for the harm than actually try and protect the people because it was just too expensive. So again, the medical professionals had no idea. No one could pinpoint when I was actually injured by vibration. So it was just complete guesswork, big grey area. So I started studying occupational health and safety before I left the smelter. And the smelter gave me a year off, full pay, to actually complete that diploma. So I started doing all the paperwork involved in the diploma, and I started seeing this grey area. Health and safety legislation says one thing, from what my experience showed me, and this is just my experience only, is completely different out there in the real world. So I started digging in a bit more, found out that vibration is actually a Schedule 2 occupational injury. Funny enough, radiation is also a Schedule 2 injury, although they're both different physical energies. They're both very, very serious injuries. So how big is the problem in New Zealand? Well, this is all the data I can get from ACC. So it's roughly around 1.3 billion Kiwi over a 10-year, over a 10, 11-year period. In Aussie, they're pretty hard to get data out of Australia, but it's roughly about that price. US, about that price. Canada, 4.6. Europe, it's a big problem in Europe, everyone knows that. The UK, well, it's a no-brainer. They've been on to vibration since 2005, even before that. And Japan's another country as well. I mean, Japan was actually monitoring for vibration back in the 70s and early 80s in their car plants. They've got a lot of research regarding hand-arm vibration, which is quite interesting. All these costs here are just pure medical. It doesn't include the social costs of the families or anything like that. It can be quite costly. I actually went back to the smelter and asked them, what did it cost the smelter for losing me as a person, as an employee? They did the sums and came back to me and said it was over 600 grand. They had to pay me out for 2 years, plus hire another person to cover my job, plus hire that person, plus train that person over a 2-year period. And while they're training that person, they're actually losing a staff member to look after that guy. So they worked it out to be just over 600 grand. So hand-down vibration in New Zealand. Yep. So as the writing says, my research led me to research account figures in New Zealand. And I was confused straight away. I actually approached ACC and actually asked for their data. I was confused. I couldn't work it out. I think the most I've ever had in 1 year was like 6 or 8 people who have been diagnosed with hand-down vibration. So I looked overseas, the UK. So in half that time, they had over 6,230 cases. I really couldn't figure it out. So I did some mathematics, which I'm still okay at since I haven't been at school for a long time. So I worked it out in my head that if we look at that 785, there should be roughly 44 cases per year in New Zealand. That's going off the numbers based in the UK, or statistics in the UK. If you divide 66 by 5, I think you get like 13.8 or whatever it is, I can't remember. But you just divide the numbers and it actually works out to be around 50 as whatever. So if you actually take into account that New Zealand has a bigger forestry and agricultural industry compared to the guys in the UK, one could argue that that 44 or 50 would actually be higher. I was still confused why New Zealand was so low compared to other countries. So then I started looking at other injuries. The most common one that I've actually haven't been exposed to, but I've actually worked with guys who've actually had it, is carpal tunnel. I remember some guys who I've been working with, they complained about their fingers tingling and stuff like that. They go to the doctor and the doctor goes, yeah, carpal tunnel. So they'll go away, they'll get the operation done. They'll come back after 6 weeks or 8 weeks, back onto full duties. And guess what? Their fingers are still doing the same thing. They're going white, they're tingling. Nothing's really changed apart from getting a scar on their wrist. So I looked at the UK data and then I looked at New Zealand's data. Thought, holy hell, this is where the hand-arm vibration guys are gone. So again, if the UK had the same numbers or the same equation as what we did when it comes to reporting carpal tunnel here, they'll have 41,000 cases, but they didn't over that same period of time. They only had just under 3,000. It's just absolutely crazy. I couldn't work it out. But as I was saying, I've worked with a lot of guys who've had the carpal tunnel injury, didn't have the operation, and 6, 8 weeks later they come back and they still got the same symptoms: numbness in the fingers, tingling, the cold sensation, the fingers go white. So from my understanding is that carpal tunnel affects certain fingers in the hand, where hand-arm vibration actually affects all fingers in the hand. I think it's your little pinky and your thumb. I'm not a genius that comes to anatomy, but I actually rely on my wife for that. So in certain fingers in your hand, the blood supply actually goes under your wrist. And then for the other set of fingers, it's not as if you've got like double sets of fingers, but for other fingers, it goes over the top of your wrist. So it's different blood supply, different nerve supply, the whole thing. So if you're experiencing tingling, numbness, and all that kind of stuff in all your fingers, the chances are it's actually hand-arm vibration, not carpal tunnel. If you're experiencing numbness and tingling in only a couple of fingers, chances are it could be carpal tunnel. But I'm not a doctor. But anyway, so when I was researching all this and I was getting all the data from ACC and stuff, I started thinking that actually doctors in New Zealand are not actually recognising hand-arm vibration at all. I asked my wife, she's actually a UK trained doctor. She actually does general surgery, and I said, what is going on there? And she goes, well, I don't really know. She said to me that when she did her medical degree in the UK, one of the papers they actually had to do occupational injuries, and that actually covered carpal tunnel and hand-arm vibration, and a few other hand and arm injuries as well in an occupational setting. she vividly recorded doing those papers. And funny enough, if I go right back to the start, how I actually knew I had something wrong with my hands is that myself and my wife were actually going for a walk, and I come back to the car and I couldn't actually get the keys out of my pocket because my fingers were completely numb. They're gone white, as the first picture had showed when my fingers were white. So the wife knew what hand-arm vibration was. We've actually have a couple of our friends who are actually going through GP training now. And there's the only occupational paper they're currently doing is on carpal tunnel. The Royal College of General Practitioners in New Zealand doesn't actually teach anything about hand-arm vibration. That's weird because they were doing it back in the 80s and early 70s. But for some reason, it's just dropped off the radar. So I actually sent her a letter to the Royal College of GPs here, asking, actually stipulating that WorkSafe oversee workplace monitoring and regulation. ACC is involved in collecting injury data and providing compensation. It is not their responsibility to educate doctors in identifying the injury. So it's their job to actually start monitoring for hand-arm vibration and stuff. And they sent a letter back actually acknowledging my research, and they were going to look into it. So I haven't actually got any more feedback from them. My only hope is they actually start looking at it. Yeah, it's been an interesting curve. What else we got here? So what have I done about it? To be honest, I actually got peeved off about it, the whole lot. I've seen this whole grey area. I've been to doctor surgeries and stuff when we had to move because of the wife's job. And every time I went to a GP, they all told me, look, you've got carpal tunnel, you've got carpal tunnel. And I'm going, look, dude, I've been told I've got hand-arm vibration, and they say to me, look, there's no such thing as hand-arm vibration, you're making it up. I say, okay, whatever. So I decided to do something about it. I had a gut full of it. So I looked around at the products overseas. Pretty cool stuff. Bloody expensive though. Sort of designed for one-time testing, which just seemed to be the way things roll over there. And in New Zealand, sometimes when it comes to noise and I think current vibration measuring is all designed to be like a one-time kind of event, which sort of annoys me as well. We monitor people who work at a nuclear power plant daily because radiation is harmful. We all know that. It's no brainer. But we don't actually monitor people who use power tools on a daily basis. Why? Do you consider those people to be, what's the word for it, cheaper? Their life is cheaper than, say, a nuclear power plant worker? I'd argue differently. My argument is that people should be monitored daily who use power tools, not just once every year or every 6 months. I mean, if we monitor, say, once every 6 months or once every year, and we set the baseline based on that day, what happens if the guy hits, say, if he's drilling concrete and hits a bit of rebar and his vibration curve goes up and reduces his exposure time? We don't see that because we've already set the baseline before that event happened. So that guy carries on working, thinking that he's all good, but in actual fact, he's harming himself. So I designed a system based on the watch at the time to actually monitor hand-arm vibration in real time. And that was to be done live through our dashboard. And we also had an app as well. So we actually had the accelerometer, the way we actually monitor the vibration. We actually had that tested by Professor David McBride down at Otago University. That actually met the EU standards and the UK standards for hand-arm vibration measurement. What else we do? We also got the algorithm for measuring hand-arm vibration from the guy who actually wrote it for the UK government. And that's the standard they're using. That's the algorithm they're using. We're no different. the picture in the middle you see there of the little circuit board that fits inside the watch, that only cost me $15 to build. It was actually quite shocking how cheap it was. The watch band where it actually fits inside, that was only 15 cents. The clamshell that goes around the outside to protect it was only $1. It ran off batteries, CR32 batteries that you get from the supermarket. I think you can go buy like 4 for about $8, whatever it is. That would get you about 2 weeks of vibration testing. So for just over $20, I can actually, my system can actually detect vibration, hand-arm vibration in real time. Yeah, it was simple. It was easy to solve. So anyway, so I built it, went to WorkSafe NZ, showed them, and they said, yeah, way cool, loved it. They said, you need to go and show the industry. So I was based in Dunedin at the time. I'm currently in Christchurch. So I left the WorkSafe NZ office in Dunedin, walked out the door, got into my car, and I thought, bugger, just moved to Dunedin. I don't know anyone. So I got into Google, Googled a couple of companies. I was on the way to see one, and then I was sitting at a set of traffic lights, and this Delta Utilities ute pulled up beside me, and in the back of it had all these power tools like weed trimmers and all sorts of stuff. So I thought, well, I'll follow that dude. So I followed that dude to Delta Utilities head office in Dunedin, and I walked up to the reception there, and I said, look, I need to see someone from the Health and Safety Department. They were a bit surprised and thought, bugger, what have we done? I said, no, I just want to have a chat with your Health and Safety manager. I need him to see something I'm working on. So to cut a long story short, they were the first company actually trialled it in the industry. They gave the prototype watch band to their green space, their high voltage workers, and also the guys in the engineering workshop. They thrashed it, and there's a lot of got a lot of employee feedback from it. From the green space team, we actually got some interesting feedback regarding the guys who use their ride-on lawnmowers. They wanted to know about how do we measure my toes. Their feedback was that, hey, it's all good in measuring my hands, but my toes feel funny at the end of the day. So I wasn't quite sure what that all meant. So I went back to my wife and asked her, I said, is the hand and the foot anatomy the same? It is. So I Googled vibration white toe, and yeah, there is an injury called vibration white toe. It makes sense. The anatomy is the same. So the toes are, if they get exposed to harmful levels of vibration, they'll go white as well. So we did the watch. So to cut a long story short there again, I was approached by a UK company just after WorkSafe NZ put my story into the newspaper. I think it was back in 2020. This guy owns a company called Tapco. Nice guy. He said, look, I advise you to get away from the watch. I said, why is that? And he said, well, he said a UK company has just gone through the court system, and they've actually been prosecuted for supplying false data in regards to hand-arm vibration. They're using a watch-based design. They've actually been proven in the court of law that the vibration measurements taken from the wrist is inaccurate. If you actually look at the hand, there's a lot of meat and bone and blood between the wrist and the fingertip. So I thought, bugger this, we need to redesign the wheel again. So I went down to Bunnings. I bought a pair of gloves. I sewed in a little pocket where the yellow arrow indicates, and I took the circuit board out of the watch, put some black duct tape around it, and stuck it into the glove, stuck it into the pocket of the glove, and trialed it. And yeah, the vibration levels were a lot more, what's the word for it? Precise and a bit more accurate, to be honest, at the point of contact. Yeah. If we go to the left side, the picture on the left side of the dashboard. So if you're looking at the circles that are orange, red, and blue, so our system worked on a point system. So if you're under 200 points, the circle will remain blue. So no actions required according to the EU and UK standards. If you go over 200 points, so that's an action point. So action needs to be taken by the employer and the employee. They need to either reduce the amount of vibration that guy is receiving, or look at the power tool they're using, or look at the method they're using, and all that kind of stuff. So it's a bit of mitigation to go on there. If you go to the top of the screen, you'll see some red circles. Yeah, so what's the word for that? Not good. There's quite a bit of red, and not just in Delta. A lot of the other trial companies, Fulton Hogan's, those guys, they didn't do very much testing, didn't need to. Also, Citycare have just started. Yeah, Downers did a wee bit down Dunedin. Scotch Technology did quite a bit. Who else we got? Action Engineering. Yeah, there's quite a bit of red around. And the general feedback I get is that they all know it is an issue, but they just never had a bit of kit that can actually do it properly. And that is my aim. So I decided to improve the design. So this is the track we're going down. So the first one was, the one back on the previous slide was crude, a Bunnings glove with a pocket sewed into the fingertip. So the idea of this glove here is actually, we take the accelerometer out of the circuit board and actually embed it into the rubber construction of the glove and connect that to the module housing, which is the red dial on top of the glove. So the reason why the accelerometer is at the fingertip is because that actually meets the UK golden standard for measuring hand-arm vibration at the point of contact. The UK government released a paper, I can't remember what year it was, probably 4 or 5 years ago now, called the White Paper. They challenged companies to actually measure vibration at the point of contact. So that's what my design does, and this what our future design will do as well. The idea of this glove is the hardware designer who actually designed my watch band actually designed this glove for another company here in New Zealand. So it was an easy fit. So I just went down to the local health and safety shop here in Christchurch and bought one of these gloves for $17 and just 3D printed the module that we're the size of the module that we're looking at actually trying to produce. The idea of having a module that is, what's the word for it, detachable, is that the whole concept is that vibration in my head, or workplace vibration, should be detected daily, not sparingly, not every 6 months or every month or whatever. It should be daily. I mean, the guys exposed, I shouldn't say guys, guys and girls are exposed to vibration on a daily basis. So why do we just focus on only testing once or twice? It's stupid. I mean, in the UK, they've been doing it since 2005, but the UK data shows that vibration injuries still do occur. In Europe, they've actually seen an increase in the amount of vibration injuries occurring, and they've had that standard in place since 2005. And they've been using the tech before New Zealand even thought about it. So this is my design. So the idea is that our gloves cost you no more. I think those gloves there cost me $17. So they'll cost the company the same price. The module that clicks, that detaches and reattaches, that'll be slightly more as standard because it will have all the tech in it. But you get the idea. When you burn a hole in the gloves, you just take the module off, throw the glove away, and grab another pair of gloves. Another pair of our gloves that have the accelerometer in it, embedded into the fingertip. Put the module back on, and you're good to go again. That's simple. That was the whole idea of it. The idea is to actually make this a system that is easy to use, simple, because the feedback I get from the guys out there is that they want a system that works, but it's not a pain in the backside. So that's what I designed. And basically it's been designed on their feedback as well. So how, this is how the industry wants to see the data. I haven't designed this. This was actually designed by the guys at Delta Utilities. They had a summer student do some work for them. They wanted to see the data displayed in a way that made sense to them and also made sense to the board members, health and safety inspectors, the whole deal. If you can see in the left box of the dashboard, there's ability to actually add tools. They wanted to see that as well. They wanted to see how the tools perform in the real world scenario. Because when you go and buy a new power tool from Bunnings or Mitre 10 or wherever, sometimes there'll be the vibration exposure or the vibration magnitude written within the manual. But the only problem is that vibration magnitude is actually only done in a laboratory setting in a static position. It's not actually in the real world. So you can't go and base the vibration frequency and put into a ready reckoning system that they have in the UK for the HEC website and work out your exposure that way, because it's just not going to work. You would, in actual fact, overexpose yourself if you base your vibration number off the manufacturer's statement. So this is the reason why they wanted to see a tool database there. So anyway, so they wanted to see the max vibration magnitude as a one-time event. So that's displayed as a number, not an X. The exposure points exactly the same as the early dashboard, but instead of circles, you actually have numbers. And then we'll have the personal profile, you have a company profile, you have an organized, a department profile, a company profile, and all that kind of stuff. Press a button, you get reports and all the hoo-ha for audits and all that kind of stuff. And also what it does is actually educates employees as well. They can actually see their vibration exposure in real time. They can actually see it through our app as well. This wasn't designed by me because the vibration action was just my idea. I went to, like I said, I got sick of being told I've only got a couple tunnel. So I designed a watch. And then once I found out the watch wasn't good enough, then I designed the glove. But the glove going from the Bunnings module in the fingertip to the previous style where it had the module on top that can be reattached and detached, that was actually based on the industry feedback. It's what they wanted, not what I wanted. So I believe if you're going to solve a problem that the industry is facing, then if the industry is telling you how to solve it and give them the tools to solve it, or actually tell you, what's the best way to say that, to actually give you the tool to solve it, then you might as well give it to them. There's no point trying to reinvent the damn wheel. Also in educating the industry, which is pretty important, because some people get vibration, some people understand it, that it is actually a hazard, and then some industry people don't actually understand it. I can remember in my younger days, when I was using a chainsaw or helping friends chopping trees down for firewood back in Invercargill. The amount of vibration you get from a chainsaw is absolutely wicked, brutal. Although chainsaws have come a long way since they are now, the fact is they still pump out a fair bit of vibration. I would actually like to see primary industries, the forestry sector, use my tech and actually try and help their guys, try and protect them, because there's a problem. I remember watching I watched an episode just recently of a forestry gang, and they had a new guy starting, and the guy in the camera was also asking questions of the new employee. He said, "Oh, so how you finding it?" He said, "Oh, yeah, pretty good bunch of guys." He said, "It'll get a lot better once my hands start to feel normal again." And that there just sent alarm bells to me. I mean, it's like, what the hell? I mean, that's crazy. We're still doing that kind of thing to people. Absolutely mental. But anyway, so, and also there is a mental health element to this as well. I remember when McBride told me, Professor Dave McBride told me, that's it, Paratools, you're finished. So I was anxious about what I was going to do next, because Paratools is all known, working for my hand, so I had no idea. I wasn't a person who sat at a desk and looked at the computer screen. That wasn't me. In actual fact, back in those days, it was the fastest way to get me to go to sleep. So there's a conversation that each and every company's got to have with not just monitoring their people who are exposed to vibration, but also they've got to have a conversation in regards to what happens if they do get exposed to harmful levels of vibration and they can't use paratools, or they can't do the role within that company anymore. What does that company do with them? Because they just can't keep exposing to the vibration. The injury ain't going to go away. I mean, it's not like carpal tunnel. You just get a quick surgery and you may be okay. There's no recovery for hand-arm vibration. Once you got it, you got it for life. You can take a B block or something. That only masks the symptom. The symptom is still there. The vascular spasm, the white fingers, and all that kind of stuff is still there. The loss of touch, the whole deal. So that's a conversation the industry has actually got to have with their workers as well. So yeah, it is interesting. We've actually been talking for almost 44 minutes now, so I'll start chin flapping. I'll go to the next slide. Right, so what has ACC done for me? This is actually probably a slide I should have left most of the time for, but anyway, pretty much nothing. Yeah, I mean, ACC do a job. It's as simple as that. They're an insurance company. I mean, they provide compensation for people who get injured at work. And then they're designed to actually return that person as fast as they can back to that job, not to another job. So, yeah, I mean, as far as ACC was concerned, they wanted to return me back to the smelter to do the job I was doing before I was medicaled out because of hand-arm vibration exposure and all that kind of stuff. And I sat and looked and said, "Doc, I can't go back to the smelter. They don't want me because they know I've been medically retired because of the vibration exposed to the vibration exposure that I've seen at the smelter, and they don't want to harm me anymore. So why would you want me to go back and get a job at the same industry that I was harmed in?" And they said, "Oh, okay, we'll go and give you a 6-week computer course." So I did a 6-week computer course that honestly, our cat probably knew more about it than the guy actually teaching me. I already knew how to use Windows and spreadsheeting, Excel, Publisher, the whole deal. But I just went with the punches anyway to see what it was all about. It was all part of the experience. Complete waste of time. Yeah, I mean, this is a conversation that ACC needs to have as well, because I'm not the only person out there who's got hand-arm vibration. And I guarantee it, I won't be the only one going forward from this conversation either. There'll be a lot more, and the numbers will probably get bigger once we start actually getting the data as well. Yeah, there's a few things that New Zealand's got to do properly. I actually understand that Work Safety NZ is actually working on a framework in regards to musculoskeletal diseases in New Zealand. We now have a chance to actually design a system that could actually be at the forefront of the world. And in detecting not just only hand-arm vibration, but also carpal tunnel. Carpal tunnel injuries, about 40 to 50% of those injuries are actually vibration-induced. That's just not out of my head as well. That's actually research based on European and the UK numbers. And also some US research as well has indicated that. So we have a chance of actually designing a system, not just my system, but actually a whole countrywide system, and actually, yeah, doing a better job actually. That's what I'm here for. I want to actually see this injury not being eliminated, because you never eliminate it. I just want to see it being reduced, and people who are actually exposed to it. I want to see them get the help they need, because at the minute we're not doing anything. There is a saying within health and safety is you can't protect what you don't measure, and currently we don't measure. Simple as that. It's a pure fact. We just don't measure. Right, so I'll stop chin wagging, and oh yeah, I should have gone to this slide. So this is my goals. So for hand-arm vibration, we already know it. I also want to do whole body vibration as well. It's a no-brainer. Our tech is already there. We've already got the algorithms in place. We can do it, piece of cake. Just a bit of hardware. I want to change the way we monitor vibration in New Zealand. We now have the opportunity to do it. We've got the tech. The tech is simple. We just need to do it properly. And I need the industry help to do it. I want to change the way we protect our workforce. That's the whole thing. I mean, we can scoot around the edges and say, yeah, we're doing a good job, we're doing a good job. But if you look under the carpet, we're not doing a good job. We're only picking the easy ones. Vibration is a hard one, but it's a big one. It's a bloody big one. Right, that's me, Wes. Any questions?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for that, Jason. I really, really appreciate it. Really interesting stuff, and yeah, shocking to see some of those results and stats that you've posted. I don't mind if the participant mind if I share his name as just part of the question here. Brett mentioned that, you know, I'm an ex-soldier myself. I have exactly the same condition, having left the army 10 years ago, only appeared after I left. I was a weapons instructor and fired many heavy weapons and exposed to vibration in that regard. Along with my previous roles exposed to machinery use, my GP, however, has decided I have Raynaud's syndrome through no testing to diagnose. How do you determine the difference?
Yeah, so hand-arm vibration is being they class as a second form of Raynaud's system. Or Raynaud's syndrome, sorry. So the best way to differentiate it is actually to go back to your family history and ask your mum and dad if they've ever suffered from Raynaud's. I did the same thing. I went back to my mum and dad and said, look, aunties and uncles, they said, any of you guys experience, you know, white finger, cold finger, loss of sensation, that kind of thing? No one. I was the only one in my family. Yeah, there are other medical procedures they can actually they use up in Europe where they test the I think it's the oxygen saturation of the blood in your fingertip when it's been exposed to hot and cold water. If the oxygen saturation is reduced after the blood goes into vascular spasm, I'm pretty sure they were saying in the reports that indicates they actually got hand-arm vibration, not Raynaud's. So yeah, to be honest, if the GP is a New Zealand trained GP, I'd go and get a second opinion. I'd actually go to a hand specialist, not your GP. I went to one here in Christchurch, and she nailed it. She was on the ball straight away. She said, this is not carpal tunnel, this is something else. What's going on here? So yeah, pay the $95 or whatever it is. Go to a hand therapist specialist or hand specialist, whatever they call themselves these days. Get those guys to run the test for hand-arm vibration and then take it back to your GP. Because, I mean, yeah, I've been where you are. Yeah, and to be honest, I've used some heavy weapons when I was in the army as well, machine guns, grenade launchers, you know, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, thinking back to it, the machine guns, yeah, quite a lot of vibration from those damn things. So yeah, go and see a hand specialist, not your GP.
Awesome. So, is there any key easy things in your opinion, Jason, that somebody could test for early stages of hand-arm vibration? You know, is it something like, you know, for example, you mentioned earlier on you struggle to pick up a penny. Is there something people could do within their organization that could potentially point that they have that condition? Yeah,
so there's what they call a pin prick test. I get that word out properly. So yeah, get two drawing pins and tell a guy or lady to put their hand out in front here with the palm up. And the idea is to actually you use one pin to actually prick the end of their finger, not actually stick the finger the pin right through their finger, but just touch the surface and tell them. And ask them the question: do you feel one pin or two pins? And if they say one, that's fine. Then grab the second pin, put them closely together as close as possible, and then touch that same point and ask them again, how many pins do you feel? If they can't differentiate between the 1 to 2, then the chances is that the sensitivity has changed, and they actually do have a nerve damage in the end of the fingertip, you can do it to all the fingers, including the thumb. You can also do it in the palm of the hand as well, because the palm of the hand is actually exposed to quite a lot of vibration. There's a lot of pressure in the palm of the hand as well. So that's one of the tests. There's also that the cotton hold water test. That's a surefire way to put their hands into vascular spasm, especially if it's a cold day. If I'm doing the dishes at home and it's in the middle of winter, yeah, straight after doing the dishes, my fingers go white. Complete pain in the backside, but yeah, the pinprick test is the best one.
Okay, all right, thank you very much for that. Then, so what are some easy mitigation factors out there that's beyond monitoring? And where can participants that's on this call or will be looking at this in the future, where can I find that support or that guidance?
Probably at the minute, the best way is to go to the WorkSafe NZ's got a policy now, which is pretty good. It's basically been copied from the UK. The HSE in the UK is probably the leading organisation for getting information in regards to mitigation, job sharing, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, if you don't have the tech or the tech's not available, and if I'm sort of still dragging the chain trying to find funding to get my tech out there, yeah, the best way is to go to HSE or WorkSafe NZ and say, look, this is what our guys been exposed to. What do you recommend? Yeah, I actually hate saying this because we are actually guessing health and safety, and when you're guessing health and safety, people get hurt. It's pure and simple. But yeah, I'd go to HSC or WorkSafe NZ and look at the information they've got. Chanzens is also pretty good. Chris has got some good stuff going through there. So yeah, just look around. There's some good stuff out there, but yeah, I hate saying it, but yeah, just use your best guess.
Oh wow. So I know you've mentioned agriculture and forestry and sectors is that these guys got it the worst. And look, I think it also depends on the actual sector that you're in, because there are some. I do apologize. I don't want to mean to try to be insensitive, but there are some sectors where the people who work there are just a bit more, hey, I just want to get on with it. I don't feel this. So, and if I say things like that, I'm talking about potentially the maritime guys. The maritime guys, they work on those ships. So the guys and ladies on there, they use scalers and they use nail guns and these chipping hammers, and they use it all day long. Or the guys that fabricate a machine and do some repair and maintenance on these ships when they're out, like in a dry dock situation. I don't know if they're even aware of this, or if they think it's an issue. It's just part of the day. It's just part of the job.
Yeah, I mean, I was one of those guys. I thought I was bulletproof or vibration proof back in those days. I mean, I loved doing my job at the smelter. I thought it was bloody cool. I mean, and the actual fact is that if I didn't actually speak up, I'll probably still be there. If I was in the situation where some of my other colleagues were in, they couldn't afford to lose their income, their job, their social status, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I'll be still there doing it. And my hands would be a bloody lot worse than what they are now.
Yeah. Then just the last question from our side, Jason. Any of these organizations that is currently using your tech from a pilot perspective, and they have been monitoring, and do you by any chance know what are some of the steps they've taken beyond monitoring, to help their guys, other people out and to reduce the vibration?
Yeah, good call. Good question, Alan. So say if I use Delta, for instance, so they looked at the data. Matt Sagrove is their health and safety manager down there. He grabbed the data that we had over that trial period and took it to his board and said, look, we've got to change. We're hurting our guys. The board took a look at the data and said, yep, we can see that, plain and simple. So they basically pretty much retooled. They looked at the gear that was actually doing the most damage. They knew who was using which prototype. They had 2 prototypes at that time. They knew where they were. They knew what tool they were using. So they looked at replacing the tools. They bought in a whole bunch of new kit, the best kit they could afford. And they, not a poor company, they could afford top quality stuff. But they looked at the tools that actually had the lowest amount of vibration output. They bought robotic mowing machines to get the guys off the ride-on lawnmowers. They did a lot of stuff. They bring in what they call job share, because they put in place a work time limit on some machines as well. But once the trial period had ended, and even they noted it as well, once the trial had finished, they were flying blind. I mean, although they had actually upgraded all the kit that the guys were using, they had no idea what was actually going on. So, yeah, my argument is that if we protect the nuclear power plant worker daily, because he's exposed to harmful levels of radiation, why aren't we doing this for our workforce who are exposed to power tool vibration? It's the same, the hazard is the same. It's the same. What's the word for it? Seriousness, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, thank you. Just go to the last slide for me, please, Jason. Then thank you very much for today, Jason. We really appreciate that, sharing your experience and your expertise in this area. I also like to thank every participant that came on today and shared this with us today. As I said a little bit earlier on, we will share this via our YouTube channel, so please look out for that next week. In front of you, you'll be able to get into touch with Jason. His email address is there, or you want to contact myself, our details are there. So please make sure that you get in contact if you want to know a bit more, and please stay in touch. Just yet again from our side, thank you very much, Jason. Thank you everyone for taking the time as well to participate today. I really appreciate it. And Jason, from me to you, well done on your first time doing this on the Zoom. It went really well. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent.
Guys, see you guys. Till next time. Have a good one. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers, Wes.
Yeah.